It is now Friday, the day before the race, so just doing some drills and then a really short shakeout run, enjoying the beautiful desert. The desert seems like such a paradise when it's winter and snowing where you are. So just gonna try to get in a really relaxed run, pick up my bib, get some food for lunch and dinner, and try to relax as much as possible the rest of the day. The miles actually clicked easily at the start, and I wasn't trying to focus on my form. Somewhere between miles 15 and 20, I felt my form start to go. I told myself before the race I wasn't going to set myself back. This DNF was a form of strength and self-love. I have zero regrets. I don't need anyone to understand that, though there is always beauty to be found in trying on somebody else's shoes. I've worked so hard to be where I'm at. I know I'm tough, and I know I can suffer, even when it counts the most, which isn't in a race. Knowing how to suffer through physical pain has put me in more holes than I'd like to admit. I'm no longer in a place where I need running to tell me who I am. My running and racing are defined by me, and I aim to hold that space for everyone. I choose to not use running as a vehicle for my own ego trip, which I've admittedly done in the past. I'm tough and this person isn't because it's quite simply BS. I choose to use my running experiences as a way to bring people up instead of down, especially during or after a challenging experience. I choose to use running as a vehicle for growth that will allow me to better serve this world. All right, here it is, the very last video of this training series. Thank you so much for everyone who has joined me from the beginning. And I also want to give a heartfelt thanks for everyone who's cheering me on during the race. Got some really nice messages after the race about people cheering me on in like the race, I guess kind of chat room's not the right word anymore, it's a little outdated, but you know what I mean. It was really nice to hear that after I DNF'd the race. And let's just talk about DNFs and the beliefs I've held and I now believe about it. When I first got into the sport of ultra running, a DNF was viewed to me, possibly because some of the influences I had at the time, as a sign of weakness. You know, you finish no matter what. You just tough it out. It doesn't matter how bad something hurts or whatever. You don't do it. And I think there's a place for that. I think some people benefit from having a goal to never DNF a race. And I think that can serve somebody very well. For me, I had to realize that's not actually what I need. Pushing myself too hard when I shouldn't has been a weakness of mine. And so when I think about how I want to define my own running and my own racing, and I look at my weaknesses and strengths, knowing when to say my body isn't ready for this has been a weakness. And for this race, that was a sign of strength and growth for me, that I dropped out. I knew I was going to drop out pretty early on, at least for 100K, probably around mile 20. And I knew that was my best decision for the day, and it was the strongest decision I could make, because I have put myself in some really bad situations because I pushed when I should have stopped. And actually, that's probably the reason I'm in this situation to begin with, is because I pushed too hard when I had an injury, which is complicated because when I had the Achilles injury, I was told to keep running, that it was fine, but I pushed too hard, and that got me in the situation where I'm at now. So being able to realize and having the strength to say, don't set yourself back, drop out of the race is a sign of strength, and having zero regrets about it, for me, is a sign of growth. And I know that's not what everybody wants to hear. I know it would have been great to end this series with, getting that golden ticket or having a better performance. But as the race showed, I'm not there yet. And if you've been following me, you knew that going into the race. I knew that going into the race. It was such a likely failure. And I knew that as a coach, you go into 100K, you race first, especially if you're coming off a long-term injury and you haven't raced for a long time. But that was impossible for me. And I was dealing with this really annoying and frustrating form issue the whole time. And actually, so this is a side thought, my physical therapist, Dr. Caitlin, she actually just did a podcast that actually explained my situation pretty well, because it is unique, and I don't know if I've explained it as best I possibly could in the past, so I'll link to that somewhere in the description below, just in case you've related to anything I have said or just interested in knowing more. Yeah, I'll link to that. But going back to the DNF, DNFing with zero regrets doesn't mean I don't feel bad at all about it, because I would have liked to feel like I could have overcome it, or I was in a better place than I am. But at the same time, I got what I needed from that race. I showed myself that I was growing, and I saw exactly where I was at. And maybe I knew that going in, but sometimes you really need a race to put you in your place. And so now I know it's I need to make sure I am 100% confident in how I feel when I'm running. And then it's time to do it the right way. And now that more races are popping up, especially in the spring and summer, start our shorter races and build myself back up that way, and really build that calloused legs so you could keep running strong, so I can keep running strong later in 100K. So the big takeaway that I'm hoping to share and maybe spread a little bit from this is give yourself the space to define running and racing for yourself without having so many outside perspectives influence it. And people mean well, but sometimes you really have to think what's truly best for you. I think athletes, I'm so guilty of this, you let the sport define you and your self-worth instead of defining the sport for ourselves and how we view the sport and racing and competing. And that's where I'm at right now. And it's so important to give people the space to do the same and try not to influence how other people look at things. And as a coach, I have to check myself on that all the time. For me, I love competing and really getting the most out of myself. And when I'm actually truly ready to race, that's pushing myself pretty hard from the start all the way to the finish. And I coach some athletes who they want to feel pretty fit, but they don't have the same wanting to push like super hard from the start of an ultra all the way to the end. Like they mainly just want to finish and feel pretty good while doing it. And so I really have to check myself. Like this person doesn't want the same thing from racing as I do, and that's totally okay. And I do have quite a few athletes who they'll never DNF a race, and that's so right for them. But I do like make sure during training, like, you know, they're not going into the race injured, or they're taking care of things as they should. So they're not really beating themselves, or they're not putting themselves in a really bad situation where they're going into a race injured. Kind of rambling on with that, so I'll stop. But yeah, you know, this series may have not seemed to end on a good note, but I don't think I have to view it that way. You know, I made some progress with my running form towards the end of the series, and I'm going to continue that. And I'm also really proud of myself for how I handled this DNF, because like 5-6 years ago, I had a totally different attitude, where now it's like, you know, it's not the best outcome, but I did what was right for me, and it's part of being a competitor and putting yourself in these situations where not everything's going to go well, and you just make the best of it, and you trust that things are going to go better in the future. And yeah, that's really where I'm at with this. So with that said, where should I go next? I feel like I need to change it up a little bit. I don't quite know how yet. Get some ideas rolling, but maybe for the next video, turn it to you. And I want to hear, what questions do you have for me or about your own training? So ask away in the comments below, and if somebody already asked a question that you wanted, give it a thumbs up, because the more thumbs up something will have, the more likely I am to answer that question. I don't know, that could be a super boring YouTube video to watch, but I figured I would just try it since it was finishing up this series. And also, I really like to hear from you guys. And I want to let you guys know that thank you so much for the comments in the past couple videos. I've been super busy lately. Sage and I, we've been building a new website, which is not either of our, like, we don't specialize in making websites, obviously. And we've had some help from a friend, but it's still been like a lot of times where you just want to like slam your head at it in a wall just because it's so frustrating. But anyway, that's a little side note. But yeah, where I was going is that, like, I have been reading your comments. It's super appreciative. I'm sorry I haven't been commenting back as much as I normally do, but I'll try to for this video and answer all your questions you have for me. And I'll try to come up with more ideas to keep this going. That's been another big plus of this whole series, where I've actually posted consistently, and I do feel like it's helping me be more comfortable during interviews or just in different social situations. So I don't know, that's a little extra bonus for me, I suppose. So just to end this video, I'm sure some of you are curious if I'll sign up for Canyon's 100K or any other races, and the answer is I'm really not sure about Canyon's 100K. I think there's a good chance it's not going to happen. Just looking at how many races have already been canceled in California recently. California is definitely, I think, to be the most challenging state to race in this year. Maybe later in the year, but spring and summer races, a lot have already been canceled. So I don't know. I also don't want to sign up for that long race again without being truly confident. But with that said, I do have a race I do every year in March. It's a small town race, and it's the only race I do most years, just because it's in one of my favorite towns. Love the small town atmosphere, and it's always just like kind of like a little trip I do with Sage and Ray. So it's either a half marathon or a marathon. I'm on the wait list for the half marathon. If I don't get off the wait list, we'll see where I'm at. I might just jump into the marathon just because it's fun to race there. And then I would like to find a 50K, 50 miler, but again, I need to make sure I'm in a place where I can truly feel like I can push from start to finish. So that is a wrap for this series. Again, thank you so much for joining along. I hope you guys learned something from it, or at least were entertained by it. Yeah. Thank you for watching, and until next time, keep running wild.